Coming up on episode 83 of the Upful LIFE Podcast.
I said I jump back, I said I jump back.
I gave a fucking clinic on the sound of Philadelphia, and I'm speaking of Philadelphia International Records, Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff exclusively. And I went through the entire history from everything. And I played Gene Carn, and I played Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and I played Dee Dee Sharp, and I played The Futures, and I played Teddy Pendergrass, and I played Stephanie Mills, and I played the OJs, and I fucking played everything I could play. And I played everything. And the beautiful thing about that is that I already have such a synergy with that music already, because it represents happiness to me, because it was made in the city of brotherly love. And at that time, there was actually some love that was displayed amongst the black community in the United States of America. And the sound of Philadelphia, I feel, was a huge component of the message music and bringing black people together as one to try. The 70s is the most together black people have been.
I said I jump back, I said I jump back.
I love it. That's funny, man. I hope you know you got a future in this shit.
Yes, indeedy. Welcome to the Upful LIFE Podcast. I'm your host, B. Getz, and this is episode number 83, coming at you live and direct from the Vibe Junkie Studios in Oakland, California. 83, saying sayonara to 24. Yep, so grateful you are tuning in. Independent Arts and Music of Asheville, or iamavl for short, was founded in 2012. The organization was conceived as a vehicle specifically to preserve and promote Asheville's cultural renaissance and local music scene. During the pandemic times, with the help of dedicated supporters, iamavl raised and put over $60,000 into the hands of local musicians, production workers, and venues. Yet here we are again. After Hurricane Helene, at a time when many gigs are lost, many venues still closed, and the timeline for returning to normalcy remains uncertain. With the Music Industry Relief Fund, iamavl is eager to play that role again for the temporarily disabled local music industry, and excited to get your donations into the right hands. iamavl, Independent Arts and Music of Asheville, is a 501c3, so donations can be tax deductible. And if realizing a tax deduction for the full value of a stock donation works better for you, you can email them at info@iamavl.com for more information. And you can hit them at that email for really any inquiries about these fundraisers. One effort this fund is initiating is the Bring Back the Heartbeat campaign. Through this initiative, iamavl is partnering with local venues and establishments who hire musicians and production workers to offset their costs and get our people back to work. The Music Industry Relief Fund. Thank you for your support. iamavl.com. Don't rebuild without it. On God, with a crab cake on the side. That's Mike, MMYYKK, all caps, out of the Twin Cities. You got me. What a banger. Heard Jahi Sundance play that the other night during the preset before the Glasper show at Yoshi's here in Oakland, and set me off. Anyway, want to welcome y'all back to the Upful LIFE Podcast. This is episode 83, and appreciate everybody tuning in 82, Rebuilding Appalachia, everybody who dropped in with that episode, who donated, who channeled their energy towards that area of the country. They sure need it. Going to need it for a long time to come, but this is episode 83, and if y'all are picking up what I'm putting down, please smash that subscribe button. Like and subscribe to the Upful LIFE Podcast. In fact, if you have the time and are so inclined, please rate and review the Upful LIFE Podcast on your platform of choice. It goes a long way to steering those algorithms in this direction, letting people know about this show, bringing us new souls, new ears, and that is a beautiful thing. Now, if you want to hit me up, if you want to holla at your boy, send me an email, b.gets@upfullife.com. I love to hear from the people. If you want to come with some reflections or some suggestions or even constructive criticism, I'm all ears. Hit me up. And if you're really feeling this vibration and you want to send me a couple of dollars for making you holla, support the Upful LIFE Podcast. Just go to upfullife.com. There's a support button on the top menu. That's a Venmo link. If you want to send some dough, another form of fashion, shoot me an email, b.gets@upfullife.com, and we can figure something out. This I am certain. I'm still trying to rebuild the Patreon situation, but you can check it out over there, patreon.com/upfullife, one word. And as far as what's going on upfullife.com, I just had one major operation, the big shebang, the Super Bowl of what I do, which is the 8th annual Upful LIFE Favorite Records and More. It's a comprehensive compendium of my favorite music of the calendar year. Like I said, it's the 8th year in a row, started in 2017, and it's something I put my everything into, over 100 hours of intentional listening, note-taking, writing, editing, tweaking. It's not a competition, it's just a giant sack of dopeness. It's on upfullife.com. It's the only time that I ask for people to actually kick down some money as far as the writing goes, because I put so much into it, and I do put it out on my own site, which is ad-free. So I really do appreciate anybody who checks this out. There's playlists on Spotify for the records and for the DJ sets and mixtapes. It's on SoundCloud, so you get 24 albums reviewed, another 24 recommended, a bunch of EPs recommended, 50 plus of my favorite songs, 40 of my favorite DJ sets and mixtapes, and then a gang of official live releases, because we're hippies and we like that live shit, you know? So that is the only new thing in the past month on upfullife.com, because it takes about 3 months to do. And it gets, 100% of my focus and energy and intention. So that is Upful Life 2024, favorite records and more. And if you're so inclined to support that financially, that's great. If you want to just share it on social, that's beautiful. You can find all things Upful Life. Instagram is /upful_life. Facebook is just /Upful Life. TikTok is @Upful_life. So yeah, I think that's all family business. And now let's get into episode 83, introducing our extremely special guest, beautiful human, who we're just going to sit down and have a tremendous conversation with. Let's hear his voice for a second first, though. Then I'll introduce him.
The rich man makes us feel we came so close when Martin said he had a dream. But they keep us down because they know what we Let's move tonight. Share the spice of life. Baby, spice of life. We're gonna groove tonight. Let this groove get you to move. It's alright. Alright. Let this groove set the shoes start up. Alright. Alright.
Yes, indeedy. It's a party in here, and we're about to do the damn thing. It is indeed my honor and privilege and extreme pleasure to welcome back to the Upful Life Podcast my man, ladies and gentlemen, Nigel Hall. Just an artist who I've been so fond of, such a passionate fan of since I first, laid eyes and ears on him. And that was at the Spirit of Suwannee Music Park back in 2008 or 9. Bear Creek. And those are some heady times that we are going to discuss, because I'm going to lay it down for you. Normally I give you, who is the guest and what they're doing and their collaborators, and we can do a little bit of that. This is motherfucking Nigel Hall, currently keyboardist, vocalist of my favorite band, the mighty Lettuce, but he's worked with more people than we can count. Currently hearing Let's Groove from his collaboration album celebrating Earth, Wind & Fire that he made with the great DJ Harrison from Butcher Brown. Nigel made a whole record called Spiritual under his own name with DJ and most of Butcher Brown backing him up. He made another record with Kraz and a bunch of cats called Ladies and Gentlemen. He's got a great tune out that you heard a snippet of earlier called Love and Light with Deitch's side project Nightcap. And that's just like shit in the past little bit. Nigel's he's a founding member of the Nth Power. He first popped up on stage with me. He was singing with Soul Live doing Too Much, which is such a banger. So that's the 411 on Nigel, and that's just like it's probably not even like half. I'm going off the top of my head, no notes right now, in the spirit of what you're about to hear, because what had happened was I flew into Florida, got in the in-laws RV with my lovely wife Alicia. We showed up really late Wednesday night, slept for a few hours, woke up, set up camp. Phones don't really work great down there, even in the modern age. I mean, some people's do, some people's don't. I wasn't getting a whole lot of comms. But then I started to get a call, a vibrating phone in my pocket, like 1 or 2 in the afternoon on Thursday, day 1 of Hulaween. And the phone was ringing, and it was my man Nigel Hall calling me from the airport. Said, yo, B, if I rent a car and drive my ass down to the park way early before the band flies in, can we do the pod? And I said, as a matter of fact, my man, we can, and we shall, and we will. And we did. And it was it was really touching that he was willing, on his own dime to jump in a rental and drive down early, and then just hang out with me and have a conversation in the RV. So it was day one in the RV. The RV was still pretty clean, and it wasn't total chaos at the park yet for Hula. It was day one. It was in the afternoon. Lettuce was playing at like 10 or 11 o'clock that night. So we had a big window, although there was a lot of artists I needed to see. I got a sweet little window with Nigel, but I didn't prep an interview. I mean, I can interview Nigel off the top of my head. I've been a huge fan of his for 15 years, but I didn't prep one for right then and there. So it was kind of an improvisational roll of the dice, and which was really cool, and made for a different type of conversation. I walked out to the gate to where he would get his credentials, got in the passenger seat of the rental car. He was cranking this new shit he had just made with Viv Hawkins, who sings with Dumpster Funk now, but goes way back with Nigel, and she's a East Bay OG. Shout out Viv. And so I got a snippet of that. Then we got out of the car. We got into the RV. It was scorching hot. So it was crucial that we had the in-laws RV. Shout out to my mother-in-law Debbie and Chuck for always kicking down those plush accommodations, and that was a big clincher for having the opportunity to do that with Nigel. And basically what you're going to hear is kind of a little bit more rough around the edges, because we freestyled the conversation. I tried to get the sort of white noise of the air conditioner under control. We needed the AC. It was a hot ass motherfucking day in the swamps of Suwannee. So there was no doing it anywhere but the RV. There's a little bit of a buzz, but I think your ears kind of get used to it, and I did my best to get it out of there in some capacity. That said, I'm not going to be sampling in a ton of the music like I always do. I'm going to sample in some because I won't be able to resist, but for a variety of reasons. First, the conversation just flows. It's me and my man. We have a couple joints going around, but Nigel's pretty sober, so it's pretty coherent and pretty focused and pretty far-ranging conversation, and I don't want to chop it up too much with too much music. So, and at the same time, I put so much time and energy into my big 8th annual Favorite Records project that I just don't have time to surgically insert 30 different samples. So I'm going to pick and choose my spots, and there'll be some links in the show notes so you can check out what we talk about further. And one of the reasons that I am unable to take the time to sample a million things in there is because my wife and I are about to finally go on our honeymoon. We're leaving in 24 hours from when my voice is speaking right now, so I am sewing together this Nigel pod so I can bequeath this along with my big feature article to the community, to the people, for a couple of weeks to chew on and unpack and listen to as we turn the page on 2024. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend himself, let's hear from my man, my dear friend, bad motherfucker, Nigel Hall. After I completed recording this episode, I neglected to mention Nigel has a brand new podcast out. They're 2 episodes deep with my man Derek Smoker, aka Derek Freeman from Soul Brass Band. So Nigel and Derek, their new podcast is called The Shadow People. I think they're 2 episodes in, and it's, they're talking about stuff, talking about New Orleans, talking about their lives in that city and in this America, and music and culture and all kinds of shit. And if you know these cats, you know how they get down, and that's real talk. So before I got into this conversation with Nigel, and Derek's been on the show before as well, He's going to come back on again soon. I wanted to just show some love and shout out the Shadow People. Derek Smoker, Nigel Hall, brand new podcast. Check it out. It's on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere pods are casted. Now let's hear from Nigel at Suwannee.
I said, jump back. Jump back. I said, jump back.
People don't realize, they don't realize how taxing it is to just play one keyboard, let alone 5. Especially when you know, like I never had any training. I never had any, I'm always really thinking hard about what I need to do. People, oh, you just up there sitting down. You ain't doing nothing. I'm doing a lot, especially where the Lettuce gig has evolved to in terms of musicality and what I need to be doing. People think I'm just up there just hanging out. I'm not. I'm moving and grooving, man.
Yeah, I mean, I played piano as a kid. I'm a classically trained pianist from age 4 till after college, and played in some bands. And like I seen what you're doing up there and all the different keyboards. And I'll tell you, man, like I got a lot of respect for what you do. Of course, across the board. But in the context of Lettuce, like you've got 5 keyboards, and then some of those keyboards have
not even just 5. Some like for the rest,
sounds, right?
Generally, I have. You're gonna laugh at this. I have scaled down. I used to have like 9. I think I had 9 at one point. I think 9 was the most I had, which is about how many I have in my studio. Actually, I have about 14 in the studio. But a lot of those are unplugged, and a lot of them are in the corner. And when I need them, then I go to them. But I've scaled down. Like when we have our stuff, I have about 6. I've scaled it down to 6, and so you'd be surprised, man.
Before we get into like some of the deeper stuff or some of the more like personal stuff, I want to talk a little bit about this for the gearheads or people who love Lettuce who have been following your career for a long time, and then we'll get into where we're talking and the synchronicity of the whole thing. But so we're talking about keyboards, man. What is your arsenal, like your 5 or 6, like you go to, and give me just a little bit about why that's in the mix. I mean, some will be obvious, like a Hammond, and some will not be not so obvious.
Yeah, well, I'll start with the Hammond since you said it. A Hammond organ is essential to this sound because it's the sound of Lettuce. I would have one anyway if I could choose. But it would be, a Hammond is there, shout to Neil Evans. Neil Evans was the keyboard player before me. He passed on the torch to me, and he had a Hammond, and I used it. And it's an essential part of the sound of what Lettuce is. But me personally, I think that it's an essential part to any band that's playing funk music or that's playing the kind of music that we play, just because it adds an element of movement. I told Weedy Bramer this a long time ago, and he was really he was intrigued by the fact that I need to have a lot of the keyboards that I use are keyboards that move in terms of sound. You know what I'm saying? So with a Leslie speaker, it has 2 speakers on it, and one is a top rotor and one is a bottom rotor, and they both have different speeds of moving. And once they really get going, it's a real situation. And those are typically used in church, where you would go to church and it would serve as the choir if there was not a choir. But then you get one with a choir, Ooh-wee. And not then, on top of that, they have like, the reason those Leslie cables are so long is because they take these Leslies and they get like 2 or 3 of them and they put them all around the church. So they take one and they put one up by the organ and they connect that one to the other one. They just kind of daisy chain them all around the church. And which is what gives it that feel of, of God being in the room. So wherever you use one is a vessel for God to come in the room, which is why I've always had one, access to one. And I just recently acquired one of my own for once. But it's not in my studio because ain't no way in the hell it's going in there. But I have one, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful keyboard. The next one I would say, which would have been first had you not said the Hammond, is obviously the Fender Rhodes electric piano, because it is the one piano that has always spoken to me through everything that I've ever heard as a child. And when I was a child and listening to that sound, I immediately knew that that was a sound that I wanted to make or be associated with in whatever capacity. And I always tell keyboard players, if they have never played a Rhodes, to play one, and you will definitely be turned out. I was talking to someone not too long ago who said that they had never played a Rhodes until they had done a session with one in the studio, and a week later they had one. So they went on Facebook Marketplace. Shout out to Facebook Marketplace for posting gear for us gearheads who doom scroll at night.
That was meant to be.
Yeah, I have a lot. I have a few of them. I have about 5 of them. And my wife is like, hey, yo. You know what I'm saying? She's like, hey, yo. All right, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Like something's got to happen here. We got to figure it out. But I will also mention, since, me and my wife, since we have all of those, me and my wife, we've had a talk just recently. And, I have a friend of mine out in Los Angeles who is, he builds these things. He takes old ones and DJ Harrison, I call him back. He takes old ones and he rebuilds them and makes them new again, basically. And it costs a lot of money. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it costs quite a bit of money to do. Enough for a conversation with your wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't have just been like, hey, babe, I bought a Rhodes that cost $6,000 today.
But it's fully restored.
Fully restored and brand new. But this guy knows how much I love George Duke, and I think that anyone who knows me has a general idea. I think I make that very clear about how much I love his music and his sounds. And
we talked about it on the last pod.
We talked about it on the last pod.
He's King of the Hill.
He's the King of the Hill for me. But this guy also used to do George's Rhodes.
Really?
In LA. And he's going to give me the exact specifications of his Rhodes. So I'm basically going to have George's Rhodes in my studio. And I'm really happy about that. So that's one that I'm going to add. But I got to sell a couple.
Right,
I'm gonna have to sell a couple to get rid of them. I don't need 5 Rhodes pianos. I really only need 3.
There's a cat out there that needs that first one. Mm-hmm. That might be you'll know it when.
I know, and there's a friend. There's a really good friend of mine. His name is Shea Pierre in New Orleans, and he's my favorite keyboard player in New Orleans.
Noted.
He's so good, and he's a really good brother. We agree a lot of the same things, musically and otherwise. And we both came up in Islam. So we both have that kind of background with us, and I'm going to sell him the one that I have in my studio now, which was my first 88. I never had an 88 of my own, but it was my first one, and it's been really, really good to me. But if I'm going to have this other one, which is going to encompass every Rhodes that I ever wanted, then I want to keep them in the family, and I want to make sure that he has something that he can have in his house so that he can take to a studio and give him what he needs. So, yeah, Rhodes piano is definitely next.
I got to ask, is George's specifications a 73 or an 88?
He had, his last one, the one that he had in his studio, he had an 88 suitcase, but that motherfucker was beefed up, man, and it was that thing. He had that thing on it. And not to mention, he's George Duke, so he had his, his body
right.
to
it's
put
like
into
souping
it.
up a car, right? It's like you buy the car and then you make
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I talked to my wife not too long ago, because I said I wanted to get a 73 Eldorado so that we both get one and we just drive it on Sundays.
That was like my grandparents.
Yeah, have something
Cadillac Coupe de Ville,
so we can spend some time together and just ride around the city.
The Sunday car.
The Sunday car.
Yeah, I love it.
But she's like, either it's vintage gear or a vintage car.
I can't have it both ways.
And I'm like, all right, you can't have it both ways, because I can't fix the car, but I can fix the roads if I need to. Or I can fix the B3 or whatnot if I need to. So shout to my wife. I love her. I love her very much.
Yeah,
she talked me off the cliff this morning.
Thank you, Jamie, for sharing
Jamie.
Nigel with us on your birthday weekend. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, babe.
It's my wife's birthday today.
It's her birthday today,
yeah.
so he's
Scorpio energy going
straight
crazy right now.
straight up. The clavinet is next. The clavinet is probably the funkiest keyboard there ever was made. If you listen to a lot of Stevie Wonder, you'll hear the clavinet. The clavinet to Stevie is like the Rhodes to me. Like, anytime you see him, he always has a clav. But no matter what gig he's playing, who he's sitting in with, he's got a motif and he's got a clav. So I definitely have one of those. The thing that I brought to the fold when I came in was the Rhodes and the synthesizers. There weren't much synthesizers being used live for lettuce around the time that I came in, and even before. And
that's something else that's rooted in a lot of George Duke stuff. He's a synth guy.
Exactly. Funny thing about that is that George, when he was forced to play synthesizer, because he showed up to a gig or a rehearsal. Sorry.
No, we're good.
He showed up to a rehearsal with Frank Zappa, and Frank had an Odyssey in front of him, and he was like, all right, I need you to play this, and George was like, the fuck am I gonna do with this, and Frank's like, figure it out. And thank God for Frank, because he sure figured it out, man. He sure figured it out. He is able to take people to different worlds, musically and otherwise, through a synthesizer. It really lets people into your mind if you know how to use one. And a synthesizer is really something you never stop learning how to use, because it has infinite sounds within it.
And infinite ways to
adulterate those sounds, and infinite ways to approach the sound. It all starts with one sine wave, and you shape it, which means whatever you do, that sound is all yours. So that is a huge component to why whenever you hear me or whenever you hear George Duke, you can tell the difference and you know who it is. I've since stopped trying to be like George Duke. Everything I did was a choice with what would George do. I should have had one of those on my license plate. United States WWGD. It would be cool, because it would be George Duke still.
I think that's like a mark in the arc of a musician or artist when you go from like emulation to just inspiration. So
because I've heard everything I'm going to hear.
Right.
You know, like he told me personally that I should be able to take what he did and what I learned from him and take it around the next star. And by doing that means to be yourself.
Yeah, man.
And I'm really, really finding that person. I'm finding that person every day, and I'm really glad to be on that journey. Like I'm 43. I've been doing this shit for 20 something years, man, and I'm just now really figuring out what this shit is all about and what it does to me and what it does for how God uses me. You know, it's just now starting to become visible and understandable. You know, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
I fucking love that you're like in that place with music right now, like connecting it to your spirituality, connecting it to, you know, the way you live your life, and like also just to get that kind of a download from George Duke, like giving it like basically like it's yours to take to the next planet is heavy, but it's also like kind of the most incredible affirmation that you could ever
that you can get from your hero.
Permission.
Yeah,
basically, like
it's like Superman coming down and coming straight to you.
When you dropped that just now,
and it's like if Superman came straight to you and said, "You are going to fly one day."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And that's what happened. He told me that, and I never forgot it, and I will never forget it.
What a gift, man!
And I'm just now starting to be able to apply the fundamentals of what it means to take on a task like that. Yeah. And I'm starting to get it, and you know, there was a long time where I stopped listening to music. I just stopped. I'm someone who can't pull out of the driveway until I found the song that I'm gonna ride with. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But there was a time that I stopped that, and I just didn't want to hear it. And that's when I started listening to a lot of podcasts. And I started listening to people and what's really on people's minds. Because you can play a note and you get a feeling, but if you only knew where that note came from, it's like when you watch Jimi Hendrix on that Band of Gypsies, and he's playing Machine Gun, he starts that first note, and he hits that note, that one note, and he don't play no note but that note, and he just let that note ring forever. And you watch him, and he's just like in this state of euphoria that's bigger than any drugs can give you. He was probably on drugs, but he probably used them to go beyond the drug. You know, like it's a whole universe in that. And then you are so deep into sobriety because you are letting that in, and you're letting God, like it's like flying and being up right next to the sun and just getting all of the raw energy from the sun.
For me, that's surfing. Like what delivers me that pure, like no drugs, no, just man, wind, water, just this primitive thing.
Just being at one with where you are.
So surfing is like, so I get what you mean. It's bigger than any kind of like intoxication or psychedelic even. It's ancient and it's intergalactic. And the
it's
fact
different. It is a different thing.
That you're visiting such spaces like for yourself. Forget what the fans think. Like you're able to go there now. We're going to talk about why that is. Man. Like, I feel like before we turn the page, we got the rig rundown. So Oregon, Rhodes, Clavinet,
ARP, definitely ARP Odyssey. In a perfect world, I like to have both the ARP Odyssey and the Mini Moog. Because the Mini Moog is good. I know it's Moog. I know a lot of people are going to say Moog, but I've been saying Moog for 22 years. Shout to Michelle Moog. I know she might hear this. I love you, Michelle, and I don't mean any disrespect to your family. But it's kind of too late.
I mean, we're not alone. I
well,
say
yeah,
it
you know
too.
what I'm saying. A lot of people say it.
Especially with
Well,
the
let
mini Moog
me
that just
say
rolled
it right, because I want somebody to say my name right. The Mini Moog. I would like to have both of those together, because the Mini Moog really achieves a synth bass sounds and doubling bass. It's fucking so killing. It's retarded. And I'm not saying that the ARP can't do that, because it absolutely can. The beginning of Chameleon is an ARP odyssey. So, but in a perfect world, the Mini Moog would be next to the ARP on top of the Rhodes. And then I have a Nord 88 that I use for piano sounds, because it's too taxing and too expensive to rent a Yamaha CP70, which is what would totally be there in a perfect world.
Is
but
the Nord weighted keys?
But the Nord, it is weighted.
Okay, so you
there's
got the
a
feel of
weighted
the piano.
and there's an unweighted if you choose to do that. But the reason I have the Nord is not only does it do piano sounds, but it also gives me Wurlitzer sounds. It gives me different Rhodes sounds. It gives me
Really,
upright.
anything you need.
Yeah, it gives you anything you need. It's a great all-around keyboard. And also I have a Korg. Nautilus that I use for those same sounds, like the real trippy sounds, and I use it also for synth bass. I've actually been using that more than the Nord, just because I just feel like just the way that it feels and how quickly it is to pull up whatever I think of, or something close to it on the fly as quick as I need to sometimes. It's really good. And I think that the Nord is just not, this is not the kind of gig that I can do that with. I don't have a lot of time to figure shit out if I want to change something that I already have in place. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Like if we're playing, for instance, if we're playing a song like Chief, and there's a part of the song where it goes to Benny solo, where I'm out off of the organ, and then I go straight from organ to Rhodes and synthesizer land, and I like to have something already set up where a sound is already going and you don't even know it, but I'm controlling that volume as I'm bringing something else in. And so it becomes a revelation of a different world or a different planet. That's what I wanted to sound like. So, but the Korg is really good for that, and I also play percussion on it. I've been playing percussion. I wasn't supposed to say that, but I'm saying it. Fuck it. I play percussion. I play congas, and I do whatever percussion is not there, and you wonder where it's coming from. It's coming from me, and I'm very good at all the instruments I play. But especially I enjoy playing percussion when there's just some rhythm and Deitch is playing and I get to play along with him and he thinks it's funny and we all think it's hilarious, but it's still killing either way. So yeah, so I have a lot of synthesizers, and there are even many more. There's an ARP string ensemble that you hear a lot in the 70s.
I love that.
That's my favorite. That's my
drama.
real favorite string synthesizer, and I'd like to maybe talk to Korg. Because I just got I'm a Korg artist now, so I'm really happy about that. Thank you. And I want them to, I'm gonna see if I can get them to make an ARP string ensemble, as they already make the reissue of the ARP Odyssey. So maybe we can see about maybe working that out. I'm gonna go talk to them though, for sure.
All right. Well, hopefully they'll hear this, and we're gonna shout out Korg, because that's
Shout
huge.
to Korg. Shout
Yeah,
to my man Tom.
we'd love to hear it, man.
And shout to Neil Francis for hooking that whole shit up.
Man. Former guest on this podcast,
Neil Francis, that is my homie, man. I love that dude so much.
I want to come back to that. I want to talk a little bit about the Neil connection because, it's a beautiful thing, and the brotherhood and the camaraderie, and we can get into that. But you gave us the impromptu rig rundown, so for all the lettuce heads out there, and people just love Nigel across the board. You hear a little bit about his relationship and intention with each of those instruments, and we just jumped right into the deep end with that. And I usually do like an introduction, but hey, it was a super organic hang. Everybody knows
we're out here.
We're friends, we're chilling, and as we were rolling up back here to my in-laws, amazing RV, which is air conditioned, beautiful vibes here.
It's wonderful.
I was reflecting that this is the first time I ever saw Nigel perform. Was here the first few Bear Creeks. We're talking 2008, 2009. He would play with Soul Live. He would come out with Lettuce, and over time, like I've just become obviously a huge fan of your work with Lettuce and outside of Lettuce. The little stuff, the big stuff. It's been remarkable to like enjoy your career as a fan, and then there's also as a journalist, as somebody who like chronicles this culture. Been just absolute joy to have a front row seat to your evolution as an artist and as a human being, and that brings me to the friendship. Is the fact that we have a relationship that is sacred to me, and people are going to hear how we talk. People might have heard the last podcast. You might just see us. The friendship is rooted in really sacred, important, like the salt of the earth. So we're here at Spirit of Suwannee Music Park, where I first saw Nigel perform with Soul Live and Lettuce in 2008, 2009. He joined Lettuce, 5-6 years later. He's been a part of the Nth Power. He has an incredible solo career with 2 fantastic albums. He's got a dynamite partnership with DJ Harrison, Butcher Brown. They made a great record.
Shout out to DJ.
Another one.
We'll talk about him later.
Yeah, we love DJ. So I'm just saying, like, Nigel has hit so many pots on the stove, and he's also experiencing a bit of a personal renaissance. Last time we talked, he was freshly sober, had just gotten out of treatment, but now we are 3+ years on down the road, and I think a lot of what you're talking about, connection to spirit, God, and to your instrument, to the art, is all rooted in this like newfound clarity and purpose, and just like realness of like who you are. So I'm honored to be sitting here with you right now, like the person you are today, the musician, but the dude, the human, the brother. And like I learned from you. You've had a profound effect on me, and like to give you a microphone and a platform to like reach people, that is like why I do this shit,
really
brother.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, bro.
I mean it. Yeah,
that's big. That's big shit. I appreciate you, man.
You lead by example, man, and like you're not afraid to just like be unabashedly yourself. And it ain't all rainbows and unicorns once you get sober.
It's not.
And you've also like made it a public thing to show the vulnerability. Like this is your life. So like I'm not crossing any lines here talking about this shit.
Not at all.
You've been an open book.
Not at all.
But I've noticed, you've talked to some folks. You did Backline things. Shout out Backline.
Yep.
And people have been interested in hearing. But like I lived it with you, and I also like a lot of the times, those old times, man, I was on fucking drugs, on pills, OxyContin, strung out on. Dude, there were years at Bear Creek where I would run out on Saturday and go into like a complete anxiety panic withdrawal, asking random fucking people for the wrong kind of drugs just so I could fucking be well, bro. So like to be here with my wife, married, invited to do my work at this festival, and then to have an artist like yourself ask me, hey, can I have some of your time because we got to do this shit? Like, it tells me that I've also made a lot of strides. And when I come back to Suwannee, it's a reminder of the whole journey. Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you, what did it feel like driving in by yourself this afternoon, coming back to a place where like a sizable portion of your career was launched here, and you're a different guy than you were back then. So
that's a great question.
Take me through what that felt like.
All right. Well, I'm going to start this with last night, and I'm going to try to be as quick as I can about last night. But last night was the season opener for the New Orleans Pelicans, And I really enjoy going to Pelicans games. And we've been having to deal with the Saints losing every fucking Sunday. Just giving people games, you know. And so I said, fuck it. I'm going to see the Pelicans. And so, as I mentioned before, it's my wife's birthday week. So she's raging this week with her friends. And, you know, raging in terms of like, we grown and sexy now. We, you know, like wine dinners and getting dressed up, looking all hot, stepping out, you know, grown shit. But I am now on a weight loss journey, and I only eat once a day, and she wasn't going to be there to cook. So I said, okay, I'll go to the game while you go to dinner. Worked out perfectly. I got up, bought a ticket, went to the game when she went to dinner. I get to the game, and I purposely sit up in the nosebleeds so I'm not bothered by nobody. And granted, last night the Smoothie King Center wasn't packed, but it was a lot of people. But I think that I had gotten myself up far enough to be away from the riffraff. And long story short, I got into a full-ass argument with this lady who claimed that I was sitting in her seat when I pulled out my phone and showed her the SeatGeek ticket stub of the section and the number that where I was at. And I started to get so mad. And then I said, you know what? Fuck it. You can have the seat. I gave her the seat and I went home. I missed the game, came home, and I packed. But on the way home, in my car, a whole bunch of lights came on at the same time. And I drive an Audi, and it's not going to be expensive it's not going to be cheap to fix. And so something else that got me mad. But I went home and I calmly got my shit together, packed a bag, and took a handful of melatonin, and I went to sleep. And I woke up, and I was already in a bad mood. But man, during the time that I had the flight here, I had reflection. I just had real reflection of where the fuck my life was at one point. You know, there was a time that I didn't have all of these keyboards. There was a time that I didn't have a car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there was also a time where I didn't have, I'm not rolling in money, but I didn't have to stress about a situation like this happening if it happened. You know, and it's not going to completely break me to fix it. And this is why we save our money. This is why we do adult things and save our money and do what we're supposed to do. And my wife, she knew I was upset, and she actually woke up to take me to the airport. And I told her, go ahead, get back in the bed, baby. You ain't got to worry about it. Because I knew where I was already, and I didn't want to put any more on her. Because then I would have, you know, I just didn't want to do that. Kissed her, left. And so I'm in the airport, and I'm like, man, I'm putting the cart before the horse like I always do. But because of therapy, and because I love therapy, bro. Therapy is the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I would not have dealt with this situation. Anyway, I got a car, and I said, I need to take just this time. I love driving. So that's part of the other reason why I was so mad. Because, like, I love to drive. And, like, if I don't have my car, then what the fuck I'm going to do if I feel like going for a ride? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I do to clear my head. I come up with lyrics when I go through that. You know, driving a lakefront, you know.
That's why you need that Sunday car.
That's why you need the Sunday car. You know what I'm saying?
After church,
you know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah. So,
or wherever you worship.
She called me and she talked me off the cliffs, and she was like, baby, it's going to be all right. You tripping. And sometimes I need to be told that I'm tripping, and just because somebody tells you that you're tripping, 9 times out of 10, you usually are.
Yeah. But
So
the key is not being defensive, like accepting that.
Accept
like,
the fact that you actually are tripping.
'Cause
If you
somebody who
stop,
loves you and
you
knows
know
you
how
is
if you
telling
you know how if you a knee-jerk reaction is to fight, and then you have to commit to the fight.
Right.
But if you just take even just one more second than you normally would, and for me, including, I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, of course.
I took one more second, and I've been doing this a lot lately, and it's been working for me. I take one more second and just think about it. That 1 second, all of the things that you need to be thinking about come in that one. That's when they start. It starts there. The mindfulness, bro.
Yeah.
And it's fucking so deep, bro.
Yeah.
And now I took that time.
Mindfulness is a hell of a drug.
Man, I'm telling you, wait till they learn how to bottle that shit up. You know?
Right.
And I drove here. I just needed an hour and a half of driving, just dolo, listening to the music.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the new Raquel Rodriguez record, Housewife. Shout to Rocky.
Yeah, we love
and
her.
the Blue Dream Squad, Sam Bronner, Morgan Burrs, my homies. Because I got a gig coming up with them, so I wanted to sit and learn. I wanted to, I'm shedding.
Yeah.
But it was quiet time that I needed. It was a nice drive. It wasn't no traffic. And I just remember getting closer to here. And I remember being like, damn, I used to get so excited when I was coming here, because I knew I was going to get fucked up. And I knew I was just going to have the time of my life. And I'm going to be honest, those times here at this park were fucking epic.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's nothing wrong
epic.
with celebrating the good times.
Man, I'm telling you, they were epic.
Yeah.
Granted, a lot of it was rooted in bad behavior, but I'm not going to lie and say I didn't have a good time.
Me either, man.
I mean, but
I look back fondly.
Yeah.
It's not what happened here. It's what happened after.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that.
I remember, man. I remember when Nth Power played when we first formed.
I'll never forget.
And we were like, we're gonna play the Spirit of Suwannee. We were like, we're gonna put our foot so far in their asses, they're not even gonna know what to do.
That was one of the best concerts of my life.
That was one of the best gigs we ever did. That was one of the best gigs that I have ever been on. Was that gig, and I've been on a lot of them. And
one of the best sets of my life, hands down.
That was a great gig and a great night thereafter.
Saying, only love, my soul surrender. Lift your hands and sing. Only love, the light shines through me. Lift your hands and sing. Only love.
And it was just a night of celebration. It just wasn't nobody doing no crazy shit. I mean, we were being crazy, but
people loved each other, looked out for each other.
There was a element of love that I haven't. That it's been a long time. I'm just now starting to feel that kind of love again in things. That's what I was saying earlier. But yeah, it's like I told you when we was driving up after I scooped you up. Like I was like, man, this shit bring back memories. I'm looking out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit happened here.
The way it would feel, it was like almost like pro wrestling, where like the music would come on and Nigel would come out. You know what I mean? And like it would just turn
off
to
the top
11.
rope. Top rope.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nigel Hall. Hey! With your eyes and metal, y'all. Oh, yeah!
feeling all right? Yes, indeed. Let's go.
There have been so many memories, that end stuff, a lot of the early stuff with schools.
Do you remember when it was Lettuce, and the horn section was Maurice Brown, Sam Kinninger, Ryan Zoidis, Fred Wesley, Pee Wee Ellis, and Maceo Parker.
Yep.
Pee Wee Ellis, Maceo Parker, Brother Fred Wesley.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
I
man.
remember that gig, boy.
Shout out Paul for making that happen.
Woo, man. That was that actually.
So what
might
was
have
it
been
like doing James in front of those
Bro, it was woo, that was heavy. That was fucking heavy.
dudes? I bet, man.
I will never forget that era, because Lettuce was doing it and Soul Live were doing it. And I think it might have been, and I'm not sure of this, so if any of y'all hear this, I'm not saying that this is why it happened, but I think a lot of it was because when we did James with me, it was fun to do, and it was accurate, and we all cared about wanting to play James Brown's music correctly.
Right.
I said, jump back. I said, jump back. Want to kiss myself. I got so super bad. Super bad. Up and down. All around. I said, up and down. All around.
Because that man would be spinning in his grave if people on the bandstand weren't playing that shit right.
Finding motherfuckers.
We would not go home with any money. And I wanted to make sure, and we all did. It wasn't just me. I mean, Neil had a huge part in that. Ryan had a huge part in that. Sam. I mean, we all.
Yeah.
That was one time that I can remember. I mean, in both Soul Live and Lettuce, when I was doing double duties with the both of them, that was one thing. I was really happy to be in a crew of musicians and a crew of people that thought the way I did, in terms of wanting to play the music the way that it is, and exactly the way that it is, and able to take parts of that music and hang out and do whatever and have the fun that we hear, make the feeling that made us want to do what we're doing right now. You know what I'm saying?
When I hold you in my arms, I know you can't do no wrong. And when I hold you in my arms, till I won't do you no harm, 'cause I feel good. Yeah, I do that with y'all. And I feel good. I knew that I would. So good. So good. I got you.
In terms of this particular squad, I feel like there's an evolution that's happening with us, the six of us, and I feel like there's a shift, there's a positive shift that's going to happen for all of us right now on the trajectory that we're going. And we're just really right now in a vibe that we have never been in. And I just saw my Aunt Louise in Chicago last
Shout out
week. Shout to Louise.
She's all up in the fan club showing love all
buddy,
the time.
that's my aunt, man.
I
we'll
heard you
talk
play that
about her
Earth, Wind,
later.
and Fire,
Absolutely.
Ramsey Lewis shit for her.
That's a whole,
I didn't mean to cuss.
Let's no. It's fine. We cussing. She and I cuss. She knows. It ain't like she ain't heard it before. She wrote it. But Louise was one of the ones that really helped to cultivate like the spirit that I have in terms of like just letting my freak flag fly. You know what I'm saying? Not that she was crazy, but we all were at one point in our life, and there's a part of that. Basically, what that means is the freedom to be who you actually are. She never complained, and she never felt as if she had to explain the person who she was ever, which is why I've always had the utmost respect for her, because she was a lot like my mother's. She told me they used to call her Little Chubby because my mother's nickname was Chubby. Her name was Catherine Hall, rest in peace. And her and my mother were really close, and they used to call her Little Chubby. And I think that's a huge reason as to why I love her so much, and why she plays the part in my life that she does. And she knows it too. And, I feel like even though my mother isn't here, I have her through Louise, and her son, Kevin, I should say, is a family name. You might need to edit that out, but Kevin is my cousin, and I love him like a brother. He's always been like a brother to me. The reason I was inspired to DJ as much as I've been doing was because of him. Because he was the DJ in the family, and he always had the turntables. So there again, I always liked being over Louise and Kevin's house, because they always had the turntables and they always had the records, and I always had free reign because I was the only kid that knew how to fucking take care of records. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he knew how to play them. He knows how to be careful. And I would sit there and I would sit in them records. And Louise had a shit ton of records. And my Uncle Arnold had a shit ton of records. And my mom did. And my dad did. So I grew up with, if you weren't cool if you didn't have records, to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
my parents had great records. So I I still have records from my dad's collection, my mom's collection, records that I drew on when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Listening to records, man. Yeah. We knew we were going to get off on a tangent. There was a whole other question. So I hope that answers your question about how it feels to be back here. It feels really good to sit in here with you, with a friend who I know understands the most important parts of me. You know what I'm saying? And that means a lot. And if that's a testament to how things have changed in both of our lives, I would say, I feel it's safe to say, then so be it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of Venn diagram in terms of, like, we have really amazing women holding us down.
Yeah.
We both have, like,
that too.
Discarded versions of bad habits. Like, I'm not totally sober, but I don't do the drugs that were fucking
I'm Cali sober. Cali sober. I want to be clear on that, because I know some of y'all might see me smoking weed one day. I thought you were sober. There. I'm going to let you know I'm Cali sober. And I don't even do that as much as I used to, so mind your business.
You don't owe anyone
I don't.
Any kind of
I really don't.
Like, your actions speak loudest, and you just said it all right there about how you're living and where you're at with it. The fact that we started about the olden days and the raging ways and ended up with, like, Louise.
That's a great line. You know what I mean? The olden days and the raging ways.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at you. I'm writing that down, buddy.
Man, there are so many parts of what you said that I could, like, hop on. But I do, one thing you talked about is, like, where the band is at right now. Obviously, I love Lettuce on a level like no other artist. It's church and religion and spirituality and music and brotherhood, and the fact that I have the opportunity, like, this will be my 9th show in the past 2 months, going back to, like, Napa.
I've literally seen you everywhere. I'm
but,
like,
there was a time,
show.
even before you were in the band, especially when I lived on the East Coast, and some of those days were my darkest days, but I could go to 5 shows, New York, 930 Club, Philly, Boston. Like, I did runs back then, but this was like 5 in a row, 5 and 5 nights back on the East Coast. And then I had, you guys came to California twice, Canna Fest, the Napa, but the 5 shows, like, specifically the run that we just finished before the Chicago. But you can put Chicago in there too.
Sit yourself down, girl, and talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Don't keep telling me everything's okay, baby. 'Cause if it wasn't, you wouldn't be crying. You've been tossing and turning in your sleep lately, baby. Sitting around pouting all day long. Now how the hell do you expect me to understand? I don't even know what's wrong.
And it's funny because I always feel like Lettuce is playing at a high level, but there's ups and downs with bands, and I would have to say that right now what I experience in those 5 nights and just the greater arc, really going back to the beginning of the summer at Jazz Fest and all that, but is the band contributing each player on such a level that it is one organism. Just the sum is so much greater, grander than the parts, and the parts are epic. Like, everybody in the band is an incredible musician, but what y'all are doing together right now. So 5 shows, 5 nights, no repeats, 2 sets every night. You did like reprise Family Affair and reprise Phyllis as part of Trillis, but dude, I keep score. No repeats.
I guess the fuck you do. It sounds like it.
No, I'm just saying, like, it was remarkable to do that front to back. And then, of course, we'll get into it, the high school in Philly and the DJ set, late night with you. Like, again, like, being a part of that, my town, going to the, Center City, Philadelphia, the band kids, mostly black kids, playing black American music, having the privilege to accompany y'all there in the aftermath of the grief of Frankie Beverly's passing, and we'll speak on that, but like what you brought of yourself to both of those. The DJ set, so you play an amazing Lettuce set with 2 Frankie covers as an encore. I was there with my mom. I said, Mom, they don't do this. This is like kind of for you. Although I know it wasn't for her, but I told her of all the shows for you to go to.
It was for Philly.
Right, it was for Philly, but me and my mom finish every Jazz Fest together at Maze. Like, it's our tradition. Yeah. So
I did also.
Right.
For years.
That gesture there was enough. But then we went to the late night, and you just took us on this ride of classic Philly.
It was all Philly.
So to be among the 50 heads in that room dancing till closing time, and then the very next morning, we're talking 6-7 hours later, we're with the kids. And so, aside from the 5 incredible Lettuce shows, like, in between the lines, like being a part of the Nigel experience that week. Yeah. The late night dance, and then going with the kids. So talk to me about, like, because you remarked multiple times how much you love Philly. Yeah. What was that whole, like, just take us through your version of that 36 hours.
Okay. I love it. That's funny, man. I hope you got a future in this shit. This is great. This is awesome.
Hey, man, that's why I do it.
I guess the fuck so. Check it out. So, I grew up. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. Philadelphia is only 2 hours away from D.C. I went to Philly occasionally as a child, and I always loved it because it was a bigger city than it was what I thought New York was like. And I had never been to New York until I was in my early 20s. But as a kid, that's what the big city is. But man, I'm telling you, I love Philadelphia. And I love Philadelphia. The reason I love Philadelphia is because Philly does not give a fuck about you.
Ain't that the truth?
Philly does not, I'm going to say it again. Philly does not give a fuck about you. They booed Santa Claus. You know what I'm saying?
Do I know?
Like, you know what I'm saying? They booed Santa Claus. So if you're not killing in Philadelphia, you're not killing. something is
It's like a
terribly
barometer.
wrong.
It's
It's
like
a
a
barometer. My worst experience on stage happened to me the first time I ever played Philly. I was playing with Robert Randolph and the Family Band. And we were going to do Love and Happiness by Al Green. Now I know that song. And anybody who sings that kind of music, you know, these are like the training songs, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that song. And I was like, all right, we're going to do it. And we go in and we count it off. I mean, at the Electric Factory.
Mm-hmm.
And
Seen many shows there.
And we started. Shmeens was on the gig too. Me and Shmeens were both playing with him at the time. And we were playing, and he started, and we did the intro to the song. I was like, all right, I'm about to kill it. Man, we get right to the point of where I'm supposed to start singing, and my mind goes completely blank.
Oh.
Man, and everybody on stage is laughing on me. The crowd's booing. The fucking, oh my God, I wanted to kill myself. And I made a vow then that if I ever played in Philadelphia, if I was ever allowed to come back, after that, I would put my foot so far in their asses that they're not gonna know what to do. And I mean that in the good way of, I'm going to play. Let me just rephrase that. I'm going to play and be as dope as humanly possible, and to the point where there will be no question as to what you just experienced. So every time I go to Philadelphia, I always have that in the back of my head as a reminder of, don't go out here and half-ass today. Not today. Maybe tomorrow you can give 99%, but you better give 120 today. You know. Not to mention, my love for cheesesteaks will sometimes slow me down. But you got to just think, you got to get past that, especially when you're in Philadelphia. So
you were working Angelo's into some like freestyle ad-libs.
Woo! Let me tell y'all something.
Yeah.
If you are ever in Philadelphia and you like cheesesteaks, if a cheesesteak really sets your soul ablaze, you need to take yourself to Angelo's Cheesesteaks, and whatever line is around the block, you just need to get in it and wait your turn. And I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. That was listen, man, I have been dreaming of that cheesesteak since I left Philadelphia. There is, however, a place in New Orleans I want to shout out called Trilly Cheesesteaks, and the guys from Delaware, and they make a really good fucking cheesesteak, especially to be in New Orleans. A lot of people don't understand. They're doing the actual. It's not the sesame roll. It's kind of like the one.
I'm not a sesame roll guy,
but the Angelo's got the sesame roll.
I know. To me, that's a big bone of contention in our house.
That.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. So
is that a thing?
Well,
some people are like, fuck that.
Well, it's not that we're like fuck that. It's just not traditional. But I talked to my boy J.A., who's like my best friend, and we were both gyms for life. And he's like, honestly, I had to like wave the white flag. Like, Angelo's seeded roll and all is king. And for J.A. to say that made me reevaluate. So I'm just saying, but by nature, I want the traditional, what's called an amoroso roll.
Okay.
It's in
that's
the
the regular
water.
one? Yeah, that's the regular joint. Yeah, that's the one.
People get it shipped overnight 3 times a year.
That's what he has. He has that.
See,
that's what they have. And they also have vegan options, too, for people who are vegan and want to go there.
Well, next time I'm in town, remind me.
Definitely. Next time you're in town, I'll take you. I'll take you and we'll go.
Yeah,
because that's it's a little taste. It's a taste of home. Yeah, for you.
Yeah, no,
but I didn't know that was a thing with people.
Well, it started with Primo Hoagies, who were like Angelo's, but for cold hoagies. Like, they came in and took the game over, and they were seeded rolls, but they were just using great meats, huge portions, and they just took the game over, but they were using seeded rolls, so I was kind of always off on Primos and stayed traditional, like DeVelo's, whatever, my local hoagie shop.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach cheesesteaks. It's like, bro, I don't want a seeded roll, but if we're going to Angelo's, like, all right then.
All right, Dan.
All right,
kind of where I'm
yeah, definitely Angelo's is.
But it's funny
Angelo's
because like
king.
I was listening back to the Philly shows, and when you sang about Angelo's, you just crooned it. I forget one of you, like Straighten It Out or something like that. You just riffing.
I can't remember what I did,
I'll play
but I
back
knew
for
I.
you.
You probably
Yeah.
got the tape.
Oh, I got the tape. It's like O-Dog and Menace to Society. I got the
You got
motherfucking
the tape. Ah, he got the tape.
I seen your ass on prime time, nigga. I got the tape. I got the motherfucking tape. I told you.
But
You know you done fucked up, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
You done fucked up, you know that.
That's crazy. You know that
Oh,
shit.
dude.
That's my
I have,
shit.
Yeah, man. I got a Menace shirt that I rock sometimes.
That's what's up.
You done fucked up, you know that.
We finished the 36 hours, and
I
I'll
didn't
keep
mean
it.
to-
I'll keep. No,
yeah,
it's okay because
totally-
we were
I got
talking.
ahead of that.
We were talking about it. So,
went ahead
so
of
my
that.
version of that 36 hours was, we got to Philly.
Cheesesteaks just took us way
Yeah,
over.
buddy. So all you got to do is say Philadelphia, and immediately in my mind is
Right.
cheesesteaks. Let's go.
Right.
What was it? Okay, so we played that first night in Philly, and then at the end we went to Say No More. That club, Say No More. Shout out to the people out there. I really want to thank them because, you know, they let me come in there. You know, again, like I said, Philly is very protective of the things that represent them.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't. And if you don't know about it, you should never. It should never really come out your mouth in a way as if you think you know, because you will be put to the test. You will be tested. They test you. They're like, okay, let's see what you got. You know what I'm saying? More so than any other place really I've ever been. You know, which is why I have such a tremendous respect for it, because the way that Philly operates is kind of the way that I'm starting to see life right now. I mean, they always have, but like, I don't know, maybe I'm saying that the wrong way, but
Like no pretense. Just tell me
yeah,
like it
man,
is.
like this
If
is
it's-
what it is, bro. Is this?
Yeah.
And if you can't see it as what it is, then the math ain't math, and then I'm not even gonna waste my time. I got shit to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Philly is like that, and that's why I love Philadelphia. And I almost moved to Philadelphia, but it snows in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So that's what I did not want to deal with ever again. But we did that night, and I went and did that DJ set. And the reason I said all of that was because the guy at the end of the guy who runs the operation at Say No More, I can't remember his name. He's a real nice dude. He said to me, he said, there are a lot of people that come here and do DJ sets and try to do what you just did. And what I did was I went through the entire, I ain't gonna say entire, but I went through a lot of it. I gave a fucking clinic on the sound of Philadelphia. And I'm speaking of Philadelphia International Records, Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff exclusively. And I went through the entire history from everything. And I played Gene Carn, and I played Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and I played D.D. Sharp, and I played The Futures, and I played Teddy Pendergrass, and I played Stephanie Mills, and I played the OJs, and I fucking played everything I could play. And I played everything. And the beautiful thing about that is that I already have such a synergy with that music already, because it represents happiness to me. Because it was made in the city of brotherly love, and at that time it was actually some love that was displayed amongst the black community in the United States of America. And the sound of Philadelphia, I feel, was a huge component of the message music and bringing black people together as one to try. The 70s is the most together black people have been. And I feel that it was a huge part of the music that was being made in that era, and particularly the music coming from Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff. I mentioned earlier that I have Islamic roots, and Kenny Gamble is a Muslim, and a lot of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that I grew up with are those principles are referenced in a lot of those songs. And songs like Family Reunion and Message in Our Music. I mean, there's so many others. Billy Paul, Gotta Let Him In. Like a lot of Billy Paul stuff. A lot of that music had that message. And they figured that they had a platform to make that kind of music to reach us, you know. Frankie Beverly and Maze, also from Philadelphia. Yeah. They were in that. They were right close to that machine that was making that music. And it was getting to them first. They were the first ones to hear it. So that's why there's so much love in Frankie's music. And Frankie Beverly and Maze is another reason as to why I love Philadelphia and what come from it, because that man was the physical embodiment of love. He really was. I never met him, and to be honest with you, I had many opportunities to meet him, and I passed them up purposely because I didn't want to cloud whatever I already felt about him. I don't need to do that. I mean, I met George Duke, and he was everything I knew and thought he was going to be because I understood his music so much, and because he was somebody who put so much of himself in the music. That's what I'm trying to do, and these are the things that inspire me. So when I did that, and I was so happy that them people in there they were in there and they were sweating like I was sweating.
We were sweating.
And it was hot in there, and we were sweating, and we were in there grooving until great, 5 in the fucking morning. Yeah. And it's been a long time since I've been up till 5 in the morning. And it took me a couple weeks to like recover from that. I was dog tired when I got home. I was so tired. I ain't never been so tired. But I knew that I had to get up with the kids the next day. And man, that was I teach at Loyola University. I'm a substitute teacher there.
Damn it. That's something I didn't know.
I had classes there this week. I teach a songwriting course.
Sick.
And so me being in front of a classroom of children I do
business
that.
As usual.
It's business as usual. But it don't make no difference whether it's a classroom of children or a room full of people. I'm gonna still talk my shit. Yeah, the only thing was different was I didn't cuss in the class, because I'm always cussing, and I don't apologize for that. If you don't like it, you ain't gotta listen to it. But I'm not gonna be just disrespectful, effing, fucking places where you probably, you feel it out.
Yeah,
You'll get old enough, you'll start to understand that's how you gotta approach things. Yeah, it was a beautiful thing, man, and especially anything to do with education. I really want to teach. I really feel like that's a part of that's part of my journey, and I feel like it's coming. Through. Yeah, I feel like it came through that morning. Frankie Beverly is the one person that I can think of, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that lived every word that he wrote, that lived every word that he sang, and that lived every word that he played. And the fact that y'all took the time to learn this music the way that he wrote it, the way that he would want to present it, I feel like I'm about to cry right now, because seriously, the reason that I became a singer in the first place, the reason I had the courage to go out in front of people and expose that part of myself and that part of my spirit is because of Frankie Beverly. All I did was tell the truth, and the best way to teach is through examples and through your own experience. And all I did was just share my experience of how Frankie Beverly was one of the ones that inspired me to use my voice. Not everybody can sing like Donny Hathaway. You know what I mean? Not everybody can sing like Frankie Beverly, for that matter. But just the fact that that man sang until he didn't have a voice no more. Yeah. And the people who knew and loved his music as much as they did held him down and knew that he couldn't sing, and they sang for him. That would have me in. That that would have me assassinated every fucking night. You know what I'm saying? That is some real deep shit. And to be able to, all I want to do is find what that is, whatever that is, and not even all of it, but just a small bit of it, and have some of that in my music and touch people the way that they touched people, and the way that I was touched. Pause. You know.
I mean, it came through that morning, is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
In the speech that you gave to the kids after the music was deep. I mean, you saw, I wrote the article, I said it there.
That was a great article too, by the way.
Thank you. I mean, you made it easy. It was just like it was incredible because you've given a short version of that sentiments in between the songs the night before when you encored Before I Let Go and Happy Feelings.
Yeah. See, we thought we had to actually play it for the kids. Right. We didn't know that the kids were going to play it for us. And that was going to be it. But we got to play it with them. Right. But we were like, all right, well, the encore was basically a rehearsal.
Right.
To make sure that was the last thing we played before we had to play it again. Because they know me, everybody in the band knows me and knows how I am about Frankie's music. And if you fuck it up, I get mad. Well, I get upset. I mean, and I don't get not as bad as I do. I'm better at communicating a better way, but they can. It's written all over my face.
I mean, it was amazing in concert. If it was only that, it would have been enough. But to be there that day, first of all, the way that you sang "Happy Feelings" for the kids and for those listening, you can check this out on my YouTube, on Instagram. But it's the Nigel and Lettuce playing "Happy Feelings," kind of on the kids' instruments. For the most part, save for the horns.
And it was still killing.
Right? It was the best version. I've seen you do Happy Feelings in numerous combos over the years, including on Congo Square stage at Jazz Fest. Mm-hmm. You know, like where at the house that Frankie built. You know,
yeah.
And so. I'm saying that Happy Feelings for the kids was on another level, but I wanted to bring up before that when y'all played Before I Let Go together, and the three young vocalists were sharing the lead vocals, and then after like the second or third verse, like you stand up from behind the upright piano and you started just no mic harmonizing with the kids, because watching you get like hype on the kids singing Frankie like was a joy in itself. Just seeing you react to the kids singing Frankie, and then you harmonize with them, and then C Sharp, shout out Colin Sharp, band director, brings you the mic, and then you just join them, and it was like this again, Frankie to you to the kids. Like I had to compose myself for a second. It was like an emotional place to be in that room. Did it feel like that for you?
It did. It you know, the reason I was hyping them up like that is because they were actually singing the part. They were singing what he's saying. And the music of Maze is very important to me because the thing that I think that when other people try to play it, the thing that people don't get is that all of that music is part driven. You have to play, literally, you have to play the exact part that is on the record in order for it to be right.
Kind of like the meters.
It's just like the meters.
Right.
In fact, just like the meters. You have to, for it to be correct, you have to play.
It's like every 16th note matters.
Yeah, exactly. And you gotta play it that way. And the reason I was so hyped is because there was one moment where, you know, they showed their age. But even that was beautiful, because that is what growth is.
I bet that, like,
that
me
is,
and Maceo would have said the same about you that night
I'm
here.
Yeah.
He was good, but he put his own sauce on it too, because he's young, you know.
I remember that night. I remember that night just trying to be as close to James without the perm as possible. Like, I wanted to be, we were going for 1968, Say It Loud era, JB's.
Yeah,
okay, that's where we were going.
I said, jump back, want to kiss myself.
And they were so excited because we had kind of actually achieved that. We did that shit. Right. If you find that on YouTube, I'm sure you have it somewhere recorded.
Randy's got the whole thing.
Bro, I know. I will never forget when we started with breaking bread,
with Fred,
and we hit all them. Bang, bang. I remember Maceo and Fred and Pee Wee looking at each other like, whoa! Maceo even said, Maceo was like, whoa! And we all looked back. We was like, we got them motherfuckers now, boy. We was so happy.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know, are you ready for some super dynamite soul? Well, ladies and gentlemen, at this particular time, we'd like to bring to the stage one of the world's greatest trombone players on the planet. This man will make your bladder splatter. This man will make you straight. Damn it. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me in welcoming the one, the only, Mr. Fred Wesley.
You know, that was kind of like those kids that day.
And that was exactly like the kids that day. And it made me feel like they care. And that's the other thing, too, is that you have to care enough to see the importance of why you only need to play that part.
Right. Oh, that's because something that the kids got to learn.
That's what they have to learn. And when they learn, and see, that's the thing. Is I don't want to rob. Nope. Now I see why it's so important to learn things on your own. It's good to have help, and if you need help, get help by any means necessary. But it's important for you to learn things on your own so that you can experience the joy that comes with learning, so that you can open your mind to learn more. It makes you open your mind. It's so much wider and quicker when you experience that there's joy that comes with it. It's just like working out. Like, I get up in the morning, I get up at 4:00 every morning. Wow. And I'm in that park, in City Park, working out, because I'm starting to see the progress and see, because I've finally committed to it and commit to getting up and doing it every day. I see the product. I see what's happening physically and mentally. And I get to bask in it, because it's my work that got me here.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me want to get up at 4:00 in the morning the next morning and do it and continue to do it.
Why 4? Just before anyone's up?
I like getting up before anybody's up. When you walking in the park and you watching, I still like to see the sun come up.
Just doing it the right way.
I still like to watch it.
Surfers are up before the sun's
like when
up
you
to
walk through the park, like, you know, the park It's just, you know, it's New Orleans, so it's got them trees and the dew is out, and the morning dew, and the fog, like walking through the fog, and it's brisk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you get to watch, and you just watching the city and the nature around you in the park just wake up. Yeah. Everything's waking up. And then by the time I get to where the track is, because there's a track and a football field right in between, right in the middle of it. So the whole walk itself is about 5 miles. But I do some exercising in the park too, just by myself. But it's just beautiful. And so, you know, my wife is even like, why you got to get up so early and do that? And, you know, I try to be quiet when I get up, but sometimes I'm not as successful as others. But that, I told her the other day, and she's like, okay, well, I get it, you know. And then plus I got a whole bunch of other stuff that I need to do in the day. And a lot of times I need to be in the studio most of the day. So I'm working in the studio a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, man.
I forget what we were actually talking about.
We were talking.
Oh, we were talking about the kids.
Yeah.
And
we were talking about the
so
kids.
yeah, we were talking about
Frankie,
the kids. Yeah, Frankie and the kids.
Experience.
That whole experience. And then we had to do another night. But after the kids was when I went to Angelo's. And
Rewarded.
was rewarded. That gave me the sustenance to continue on.
Yeah, dude, just that whole ride with you and the band in general was really, really special, especially that little window of time with the DJ set and, of course,
that was so much fun, and if I ever come back to Philly, I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
I definitely want to do it again.
Sure, it'll go over huge. I mean, it did the first time, and word would travel, and next time even better, you know?
I hope so.
I mean, I want to do a little bit on some non-lettuce stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to, real quick, before we get into the DJ Harrison stuff and any of the solo stuff that you've been doing, however you want to play it, I just wanted to ask, because you referenced, you know, Cali Sober, we talked about 3 years, and like a lot of this stuff, whether it was teaching at the university or teaching the kids in the high school or playing a DJ set late night, like not fueled on a bunch of garbage, or the fact that you're getting up at 4 a.m. and putting in work before putting in work in the studio. None of this stuff happens before, you know, you're not going, you know, your life was not like
Absolutely
that
not.
when you were fucked up.
Absolutely not.
So I wanted to ask, like, you know, can you talk to people out there that are in that space who, like, you know there's something on the other side? And it doesn't have to be like quit everything or go to rehab or whatever, but just the changes in life that you made and the rewards that you are experiencing now. Because I've never really heard you talk about like the way a workout feels, or the way that like getting up and watching a sunrise sober on life.
Yeah.
Like the way that is fueling what we get to enjoy on the stage.
Yeah. It's so much doper. I mean, what I learned and what I had to go through to get to where I am may not be what other people have to go through. But I was always one of them people that had to learn the hard way. And for a long time, I thought it was a curse, but that was the biggest blessing that I could have, because when you learn something the hard way, generally, if you're not a complete fucking idiot, you don't do it again.
Tell me about it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, this is real talk.
Yeah.
You know, all I could say is you got more than you think you have, even at whatever stage you're in right now. You know, it's hard for me to be like, now, you know, you have to, whatever it is, just stop and this, that, and the other, because, you know, people are going to do what they want to do. All I can do for other people who might be in that situation, I love when people reach out to me and say that maybe after I posted something, or, you know, after I've said something about, you know, sobriety and just keeping your life together, how much it meant to them, and how they stopped their 24 hours. I've had people say, hey, I got 24 hours because of what I saw. The only thing I can keep doing is do what I'm doing. Because I've always said that when people lead by example, leading by example is the best way to make a point. Because hopefully the person will see how you move and consider that there's another option. And only ultimately they decide when they do that. I can talk until I'm blue in the face. People have talked to me until they were blue in the face, and I still did what I wanted to do. And it didn't change until I changed it. So all I can do is continue on learning the journey of myself, and hopefully the people who follow me and the people who are around me to see the growth, they will see that, and that will be what helps them in their growth. Because again, it goes back to the joy of learning. You know, I'm experiencing the real joy and the real pain, which is even still joy, you know, of learning who I am and how I'm going to navigate in this world as this person. I am re-meeting myself just like all of you are. You know, I am not the same Nigel that you knew. I'm not the same one. I don't tolerate the things that I used to tolerate. And not even just tolerate, but I'm just not the same person anymore. We all are like that. We all change. Every second we change. So every second we grow. You know, whether we grow into what our full potential, or whether we grow into a monster, we're growing. You know, but it's all about the choices that you make in the growth. So my only advice would not be to watch me, because I'm going to make mistakes. And as people, we all make mistakes. Not to watch people, but my advice would be to really think about what it is that you want in your life. And if you're happy where you are, then be where you are. But if you are not happy where you are, then change it. And it really, I know I might even get a lot of backlash, because a lot of people will say, oh, it's not as simple as that. It was for me. And I'm not talking about you, because I don't live your life. I live mine. And all I can do is impart wisdom in things that have helped me, but that don't necessarily mean it'll help you. So the best way to do that is to just continue to do what I'm doing, and let that be the catalyst for learning. Let that be the example. Let that be what you see in terms of someone being happy and grateful and empathetic and sometimes pathetic, and, you know, all of the colors, because that's what we are. And that's what I try to put into my music. I try to be an open vessel so I can get everything that I need to make the point to you, so that it'll help you get through whatever it is you need to get through. Because if I did anything less, I'd be lying to you. which is what I was doing for a long time. You know?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I come back to with regard to that kind of recovery stuff is like, you're only as sick as your secrets, right? So, and for me, it was like just stuffing the secrets in a suitcase, like jumping on top of it so I could get it shut, picking it up, going to the next spot, right? So now I'm fucking carrying around this fucking
That example hits so hard because you're talking to somebody who literally lives out of a bag.
That's what, you know? Yeah, me too, in different ways. But yeah, exactly. So for me, and that's, you know, not to make it about me, but for me, my whole, you know, you got to learn things the hard way. Yeah, I went to jail. And in jail, not only did I get rapidly sober, but I also had to, but coming off all the things in a space that was terrifying, was like,
man,
you know,
see what I'm saying? It could have been that. Right. It could have been that for me.
But then I had nothing to do in there, but I mean, obviously I had books and shit, but figuratively, but open the fucking suitcase. So that's what I did when I was in jail. Like,
you had nothing but time.
So I had to go through the suitcase, and when I left there, man, that shit was light. Yeah. And so I've just tried to keep it light. And one of the tenets of that is you're only as sick as your secrets.
I remember seeing you when you came out of jail, and I remember you just being...
I needed to be the cool guy
beacon
for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, and then that was like the humbling thing where it's like, you're not fucking king of nothing, man. You're being told when you can shit, piss, and eat, sleep, and walking around in fear. And so coming out of that was like, it was gratitude and being humbled at this place. So this is one of the first places I came to.
Right.
And, you know, it was just an amazing reemergence. So I see a version of that in you. And the rich rewards that you've been blessed with in the past few years. And like one of the things is like creativity. Mm-hmm. So not only have you brought a whole new element to Lettuce, but you are making music outside of that with so many different folks. And I'm going to get in trouble if I keep you much longer.
No, you're not. What time is it?
It's a little bit after 6. So,
shit. Yeah,
right? So I want to finish up with...
this might have to be a two-parter.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lifetime parter. We're going to do this.
Yeah, we're going to do this
we're going to do this a while. But let's just go, like you told me yesterday, and so did she.
Enough.
Yeah. You're making music, you know, with Viv, with Sari, with Renee. I love to hear you with women. You know, it's like the other day with Alicia Shakur, that synergy was there. Like, you're talking about Raquel Rodriguez earlier. Like, you got a good thing with the ladies. So just talk a little bit about, in general, like your partnership with DJ Harrison from Butcher Brown, and like just the music you've been making this past week.
Okay, well, the music I've been doing with Butcher Brown, DJ Harrison is one of my closest. Kareem Akbar. That's what we call. That's what I call him up. I'm like, because we always talk about New Jack City. That's
the educated brother from the bank.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That brother from the bank. Yeah, that's right.
Look at it. Kareem Akbar. That's right, the educated brother from the bank.
If I go down, everybody go down with me. Yeah. That's my man. I love DJ. That is that dude. Yeah, man. Look, bro, I'm a movie. That's what we're gonna talk about too.
Lean on me.
One of my projects is I have a record that I'm coming out with all of my favorite movie themes. I did it in the pandemic, and it was oddly enough something I talked about a lot when I was on cocaine. So it's one of the things that I revved my engine about that I actually did. And I'm actually very, very proud of it. And I did the whole thing sober. I did it when I got out of rehab. But that's one project that I'm working on. The stuff that I'm doing with DJ, man, we are always working on something. It doesn't even matter at this point because we talk every day. He called me twice while we were doing this interview. I have to call him back. You know, he's a really good, he's my twin. Like, he is just a real source of inspiration for me, musically and otherwise. And I think I am. I think it's safe to say that I am for him as well. And when we get together, it's just like, you know, frickin' frack. We have a completely different language how we speak. So we're working on another record. The Burning Bush did so well that we were asked to do another record. And I think it's okay to put this out there, but we're going to do Steely Dan next.
One of my all-time faves.
But we're gonna put some hop on that and do some of our favorite Steely Dan songs. Yeah. And I just had Sari Jordan, and Renee Grow come in and help me do some vocals. I have Grant Garland, my brother Grant Garland, amazing guitarist. AJ Hall, Will Blades, Otis McDonald.
Wow.
Alicia.
I remember seeing
it's just a record I did with all of my friends back when everybody was home. Like, you could send them a track and say, here, put something on that's great, and you gave it back in 20 minutes. You know, it's not like that anymore because everybody's back to work. So I'm glad that I got to do that record, the movie record, the way that I did during the pandemic, and just have everybody available. So that was good. But we're doing this Steely Dan record that's coming out. I actually have a brand new solo record. I have a new solo record that's going to come out that I'm producing with my brother Charles Haynes, who has also led his fam from the Wally's days. But he's an amazing drummer in his own right. Check out Charles Haynes in the Tabernacle. Shout out to Charles. And we are doing a whole record. I'm doing this record. This entire record is about my last 4 years. 1 year of me as a drug addict and alcoholic, and the following 3. And it's a mostly original record. It's going to have mostly original songs. There are some covers, but the covers that I chose help to tell the story. So, that movie record is just going to buy me some time so I can finish and really put the energy and focus on that record that I need to, so that I give you the right story and give you the accurate thing of what happened. If you have any questions after that, then you probably wasn't listening, because I go through it all. And Lettuce has a new record we're getting ready to come out with soon. And
I mean, that's a lot of stuff right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. We just released the Housewife record with Raquel. I'm producing Renee Grow's record also that's getting ready to come out. So I'm teaching at Loyola when they ask me to. It's been a lot lately, but I'm always working on something. I'm never not working. Yeah. There's never a day off for me, and
that's
I'm working toward being a better person first and foremost, which is very hard work.
It's a lifelong.
Before all of that,
journey.
that's what I'm doing. Meanwhile, in between time. So
I mean, it's coming out, like, in the conversation today and how you're living your life, like publicly, privately, like you're being a better Nigel every day, and like, in a humble way and transparent fashion. And I feel like that is what people can really take out of this, is like, the humanity and the reality, and like I said, all the colors. So like we just talked about a lot of really epic stuff that happened in the past, happening in the future, but in between the valleys, were hard times. And like some people feel like there was a time where you could have never told me that I would be off fucking oxys, man. That shit was a dozen years in and out of that stuff, and
so much time has gone by.
Right. Well, now I'm almost 9 years in the rear view, but I'm just saying, for a dozen years, it was a yo-yo. And so, like, I try to always not only meet the guests there, like, hey, we could talk about recovery. Like, I used to be fucking junkie, so that lets somebody in your seat be like, all right, this motherfucker knows what it's like to fucking want to die. So that right there, I'm meeting you there. But also, and people have emailed me this, told me in person, they were like, thank you for talking about that shit, because I lost my brother, or like, you helped me understand. And that's kind of how I feel about my buddy's sobriety podcast, Dopey, which you've got to get you on too.
Yeah, I'd love to do it.
We talk about
Come on, Dopey, let me on, bro.
Oh, he wants to have you on. He's just like, when's he going to be in New York?
Let me know. I'll let you know.
We'll make it happen, because he does a great, like, in and out of the journey. But what I'm saying is that I've learned from that show, and then by talking about it on my own show, that by being transparent, being like, because it's like I walked around these places fucked up. People are not idiots. They remember the other me,
right?
Whether I asked them for drugs or I was on drugs or whatever. They when look at me, I see myself in pictures and shit. I'm like, damn, I was high that night.
You remember that picture we took together? That time I got mad at you. I'm like, why you post that picture, boy? I was fucked up that night, man.
Those were the days, man. The point being is, by being open and transparent, be like, hey, this is how it was, this is how it is. I feel like we're helping ourselves.
We are.
Accountability. And then we're also putting it out there to be like, hey, if this is you, like, it can and will get better. And again, it starts with like the person changing said behaviors. And sometimes that takes extreme measures. For me, it was jail. For you, it was rehab. Yep. We also are really blessed to have amazing support networks. Exactly. And our lines of work welcomed us back afterwards. Like, as long as we brought our best selves to work.
Exactly.
And that is a day-to-day progress, you know? And I think it comes out in the music and also your relationships. Like the amount of like profound relationships. And I think we could like, that should be where we hop off. I know it's like a keyboard fraternity, but like Ivan, Neil, those guys were real instrumental in opening doors for you.
Very much. And I mean, I guess it's just a thing that, you know, we all know what it's about. We all know we have a lot of the same struggles. And, you know, while we aren't each other, we still go through the same shit.
Right.
And it's just about dealing with, there's only one, there's no right way to do wrong. You know? There's only one way to do it right. And, you know, it's because of people like Neil and Ivan, and a whole bunch of other people I don't have time to mention right now, but
they know.
And Jamie, of course, that really knew me as a person and said, this is how you can do this. And if you want to do it, then it starts with you. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it's, you know, y'all are gonna see, y'all about to see some shit. If you thought it was crazy then, you're about to see a whole nother person emerge that is way more powerful than the last one. So,
right on.
and just in my the way that I feel about things, I just feel it better. So you're gonna get the second take, and not a lot of people get a second take in this world.
Ain't that the truth?
So yeah,
dead or in prison or something.
Yeah,
you know, so we're lucky.
Could have been me.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. Thank God I don't look like what I've been through. Come on, guys.
Hey, I love you.
I love you too, man. I got to go to sound check. I might get in trouble.
All right, man. You
I
get
ain't
out
gonna
of
get
here.
in trouble.
I got to go to say she.
Yeah, we going to the same place. So just get the car.
When I die, I hope to be a better man than you thought I'd be. It's been hard to make you see what kind of man I'm trying to be.
Yes, indeedy. Wow. Fucking love Nigel. Nigel, thank you. And I love you. I'm about to get on a plane, go on a honeymoon with my wife, but I want to say thank you to Nigel Hall and to Hulaween and to all of y'all. It's just a beautiful time, even though it's a really scary time and a really, you know, ugly time. We find the beauty in the cracks in all the ways. So with that, like we always do about this time, the Vibe Junkie JAMZ. And you heard Nigel mention Raquel Rodriguez. So we're going to go with their collab, Greens, which is on my favorite songs of the year, Upful LIFE 2024, favorite records and more. In the favorite songs section, you'll see that. Obviously, Nigel put me on to Raquel. Raquel is a bad one. And stoked for y'all to hear that. And then we're going to finish up with the live version of Happy Feelings. May's Frankie Beverly, Happy Feelings, Lettuce, playing it to the school kids at like a noon 30 the day in between their Philly shows. You heard us discuss that day. I wrote an article about it. You can find it on Live for Live Music. I'll put it in the show notes. However, my man Ike Richmond, shout out Ike. He was instrumental in that whole day happening, and he recorded this fantastic version of Lettuce playing Happy Feelings on many of the kids' instruments in the high school. So Raquel Rodriguez featuring Nigel Green's into Happy Feelings, because I got some happy feelings for my wife, and we're going to go explore those in paradise. So with that, we'll say goodbye. God bless. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, everyone out there. Check out my favorite records piece. Slide through, support the Upful LIFE Podcast. Send me a couple dollars for making you holla, and I'll see y'all in 2025. Yes, indeedy. After I completed recording this episode, I neglected to mention Nigel has a brand new podcast out. They're 2 episodes deep with my man Derek Smoker, aka Derek Freeman from Soul Brass Band. So Nigel and Derek, their new podcast is called The Shadow People. I think they're 2 episodes in, and it's, they're talking about stuff, talking about New Orleans, talking about their lives in that city and in this America, and music and culture and all kinds of shit. And if you know these cats, you know how they get down, and that's real talk. So before I got into this conversation with Nigel, and Derek's been on the show before as well, he's going to come back on again soon, I wanted to just show some love and shout out The Shadow People. Derek Smoker, Nigel Hall, brand new podcast. Check it out. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's everywhere pods are casted. Now let's hear from Nigel at Suwannee.
Well, no lie, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, feeling tongue-tied, and it's still on my mind. But when you come close, I swear it's like you already know that I just don't wanna be alone. So you packed one up and light it just for me. I love the way you always give me grief. You packed one up and light it just for me. I love the way you always give me grief. No, you first. You always tell me that's what I deserve. When we reverse, I wanna do the same for you, baby. 'Cause you know they say that it'll help you take your stress away. So I'm like Dre, smoke weed every day. Hey, hey, you pack one up and light it just for me. I love the way you always give me grief. You pack one up and light it just for me. I love the way you always give me grief.
we would have to come in and we were gonna come in and play it. We didn't know y'all was gonna come in here and play it. All right, let's pray. Let's go. Do y'all know this song? Some of y'all know this song? Yeah, I know it.
Thank